What's good, everybody? It's your boy ServerError405. We are here joined for the first time ever by one of my good friends, my perfect stranger buddy. You might have seen him in Shawny P's Snack, Scrutiny, and also on ViewCount. Ladies and gentlemen, Shawny P, Shawn Pittman.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Sean P. What's going on? I changed, took off the Y. Now it's just Sean P. I'm just kidding. You can call me whatever you want. But
And
you know what? Server error. My eyes are getting weary and my back is getting tight. So can we get on with this?
yes. And if people don't know already, this is the King of Queens Conver-say-tion. If you're a huge fan of King of Queens, I know we are. We're super fans of the
Yeah.
show. We're going to try to break down every little piece. Some of the stuff you might have heard about if you read Reddit stuff. There's a lot of things that we'll talk about, but we're also going to try to pull a little something out of our hat that people have never heard before. Some, different things. And, Shawn, first thing I want to ask you is what made you love King of Queens? When did you start watching it and why did you fall in love with it?
So I didn't watch it while it was current. Probably explains why in 2025 we're doing a King and Queens
Right,
podcast.
exactly.
But we were me and my brother is actually kind of a weird thing how it worked out for me because I don't know if I would normally like those type of shows when I was growing up. Like I didn't get into Mike and Molly or anything, and that's a similar
Yeah,
show.
right.
Everybody loves Raymond. I wasn't into that, but what we noticed was Arthur was very similar to our dad, but more of a to our father. He's more of a like a higher degree. Like, but some of like even sometimes word for word the things he said. Me and my brother were like, "Holy cow, this is dad!" And so that's kind of how we got into it. We started watching it, and then I found it. I really enjoyed the show. I like Kevin James. I like physical humor, and he's physical in that. He talks about sports a lot, and just the relationship. I've always liked Leah Remini, right back to Saved by the Bell. And another reason why I was like, I didn't know for sure if I liked the show. I'm not a big Seinfeld guy, so I felt like Arthur was probably just going to be the same as um, George
Yeah.
Costanza's dad. What's his name in Seinfeld?
Fuck,
Yeah,
I don't
Mr.
remember.
Costanza.
Mr. Costanza.
Yeah. So
Mr.
I was like,
Costanza.
yeah. So that was like why I avoided that show. I'm like, I don't know. But then in syndication, I guess, and started watching, I think on TBS, probably some roommate
Yeah.
reruns. And me and my brother got hooked, and it just turned out to be one of my favorite shows after.
Yeah, and I know your favorite shows are Sopranos and The Simpsons. So I'm surprised that you
Yes.
haven't done like a podcast on either one of those because those were great shows. Um, I
That is
I
true.
I'm pretty close to your take with The Sopranos being like the greatest show ever because it was so good. But
Yeah.
King of Queens, similar to me, like The Office, has so much watchability. It's just,
Yeah.
like you mentioned all these things about, Kevin James' character, Doug is very relatable, like a sports guy and just, like the everyman, like that stereotypical, he likes to come home and drink beer, hang out with his buddies, big sports fan. So
Yeah.
immediately that like, was something that drew me into the show. I watched a little bit when it was actually on, because it was a spinoff from Everybody Loves Raymond, because he was on there a few times. So then they spun off with that show. And I just really loved the show. And then syndication, I caught a lot of episodes, and there's so many funny episodes. There's a
Yeah.
few that I'll skip every now and then that I'm not really
Yeah.
into, but for the most part, 95% of it I'll rewatch like 1,000 times and try to find new little Easter eggs in there. The
Yeah.
Spence just standing there in the one
Yeah.
shot.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we both love the show. The main thing that people always talk about with the show is the continuity errors, which is all over the place, and a lot
Yeah.
of
Big time.
yeah, and a lot of people have talked about this. They've had YouTube videos about it, and like I mentioned, Reddit posts. There's rumors that a lot of the writers were high when they wrote the show. I don't know
Wouldn't
if that's
surprise me.
for sure. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with that. My best ideas I've been high. So I mean, it is what it is. But do you think that maybe they just forgot about certain things, which I seen would be weird because they're like a high paying, executive that should say, hey, you guys have done this before with Doug and Carrie, and these things don't match up with how they met and how they got the house. And, Spence, he wasn't allergic to peanuts in the early episodes because he ate one in the back seat of Doug's car.
Yes, I picked that one up every time. I watched the
Yeah.
episode the other day because I like throw on. I don't. Do you guys have Pluto
Yes.
TV?
Yes.
Yeah.
Love
So I'll
Pluto.
throw
Pluto's great.
Pluto. Yeah, and of course Pluto. You don't get the option of watching an episode that you want. I did buy the box set from a friend at work, and that's how I got every episode. Ended up
Yeah.
watching every episode because it was part of everyone has transition of shows that they watch just in the background. So like that
Yeah.
was a part of my my whatever you call it. Anyway, so that one bugs me. And I just today I had it on while I was cooking, and it was the one where Doug and Carrie and Deacon and Kelly are supposed to go to this wedding, and
Yes.
they meet him at Cooper's, and they're like, "Oh, it's a blah blah apartment
Right.
reunion." I'm like, Doug didn't meet Deacon until they were out. Well, I guess technically they might have been in an apartments building, but he didn't meet Deacon until like he started working at the IPS. So it feels like maybe they didn't all live in the one apartment building together and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So, but the biggest one that bothers me, the biggest continuity error, is Carrie's boss.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one that drives me to nuts because it's the exact same person. He doesn't even act different. He didn't even change his glasses. It's
No.
just the same
He just showed up with a
guy.
different last name,
He's Mr.
basically.
Kaplan, and then
Yeah.
he's when he's with the
Kaufman.
Dugan
I think it
group.
was Kaufman. I think it was Kaufman,
Kaufman,
I think.
Kaufman, I think was the new, and Kaplan was the old, or the other way around.
I think it's the other way around.
Yeah,
Mr.
yeah,
Kaplan was like the main for the longest time, and then she was out of work, and then she ended up
yeah,
getting the new job. It was him, but it was
yeah,
another guy first. Because remember when Doug faked the heart attack, and
yeah,
then that was her boss, and he's like, "You go to
yeah,
my guy," and all this other stuff.
yeah,
So after him was Mr. Kaufman, and
yeah,
that's when he had the baby, and she was going through all
yeah.
the different outfits and tucking the tags in because she
That's a
returned.
good episode.
That was a really funny
Yeah,
episode.
she gets tag rash. Yeah,
Right. So
yeah,
I think my biggest one is mainly like their history together, like how they met, and then like with Deacon, he supposedly met Deacon when he was trying to, mess with Carrie and just like have sex with her for the first time. Said he has
yeah,
a job, takes
yeah,
off and leaves, and she follows him, so he just goes into the IPS building and Deacon's there.
yeah,
But if you look at like other episodes, he's hanging out with Deacon, and Deacon's got like this high top fade and hanging out
yeah,
with Spence,
yeah.
and they're like talking about, Carrie and all this other stuff. And this was like another, man, I can't remember
Because
what he,
what
well,
was
go,
that? I was
I,
going to say he didn't have a job when he went to get married first, but I'm mixing up those two episodes. So yeah,
yeah, because
I
they're
forget now.
the one that he was trying to like, fuck her, basically was, after they showed when they first met when he was a bouncer with
Yes,
you know with what's his name, with
Richie.
Richie, yeah, with
Yeah,
Richie, who we'll
yeah,
talk about later.
yeah,
And that's supposed to be the first time they met,
yeah,
but it's changed and it just irritates me. So
yeah,
I look through a bunch of Reddit stuff, and some people think that the writers, who may or may not have been high when they wrote the whole series, that was kind of like, use your own interpretation. Which one do you
yeah.
think is how they met? And so,
Oh,
which, I mean, it's kind of like a cop out fucking way.
there's
But
no
if
way in the not mid early to mid '90s or late. Actually, that one's late '90s that they were
yeah,
thinking about that in depth. I find all TV writing back in the '90s was nothing compared to what it is now because of the internet and people like break everything down. So like they got to really pay attention to continuity
yeah,
because if they don't, you're going to get a million Reddits. But back they didn't have Reddit when they were writing this show, so they
no,
didn't give a shit. It was
no,
the same thing in like Fresh Prince. Is the same thing. Boy Meets World. There's a million like different
yeah.
shows that like whatever. Let's make this
Let's just
guy
do it.
and this guy the same person, but we'll change it. We'll keep like even the first three letters of the last name. Like
It-
honest to God.
they're not, it's almost like a lot of the stuff, and I don't want to say it's lazy writing. I just feel like they just didn't pay attention to a lot of the shit because, like you said, like I don't care. This is a great idea for an episode. Let's just do that. For me, when he
Yeah,
was with Richie and met her, I to me that's the first time they met. That's how I look at it. All the other stuff
yeah,
is just
same.
like,
Yeah,
yeah, it's filler episodes that they have in there.
yeah,
Even the Thanksgiving episode when he went to Arthur's house when Arthur
yeah,
had he
yeah,
was on a remarriage and was there
yeah,
Thanksgiving and they were in the bathroom, and they were only dating like 3 months and he told her he loved her and it just didn't tie up to
yeah.
the other stuff that how they met, like Arthur had his own
No,
place, he got
yeah.
remarried, which he never really talked about his second wife at all. You know what I mean? So, and also
It was. I think it was his third. No,
that was his third because that was what's her name, the Brady mom was his wife. That was his third wife?
yeah, Tessie or whatever. Yeah, I think it was Tessie,
Maybe.
the one that died at the pilot episode. Yeah,
Well,
I think. Yeah,
this one was, oh man, I don't think it was Tessie. I think it was a different name. But either way,
there was
it's
Tessie and Lily, and I forget
Lily,
what
that's
Carrie's
who it
mom's
was.
name was. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You mean Simone? Simone's mom? Because that's another thing they mentioned in
yeah.
one
Sorry.
episode and it
Yeah,
never got talked about.
yes.
Also,
No, after that.
just like you, Doug is Canadian, which they never really dig deep dive into.
One of my favorite cap to the shows is that one is the one where Doug finds out he's Canadian and they're at the Rangers game and they sing "Oh Canada" and Doug stands up and he's like,
I don't
but
understand
actually, I guess
why they didn't do more of that. That's hilarious, him being
just
Canadian.
yeah, because her name is Midge actually now
Her
because he
name.
wondered she didn't get Simone back and he's like, I prefer winning you the name Midge.
Oh,
So,
that's
so
right.
but then they're just like, nah, that was just a joke.
Maybe they were high. Maybe they
Yeah.
were. Maybe that's honestly why all this shit's like this.
To name a TV character Simone, you got to be high.
Yeah.
Yeah, or a big Michael Jackson fan. Simone. No.
Simone,
Sorry,
Simone.
that was bad.
I mean, that's a pretty bad name.
Yeah, I know a Simone. Kind of. I don't know. She was in college.
Is is she a good person?
She seemed like a nice person. She dated one of my closest friends now, who he's not there. He lives here now, so I don't know if she's really that good of a person because he's the worst ever. But you never know. You never know.
I
They
mean,
did break up, so she probably figured out that this.
you should ask her what her middle name is, and if it's Carrie, then
Oh
that would be
man,
the
I'm gonna. Yeah,
creepiest fucking thing.
I will
Um,
see if she's available, and I will propose.
oh, there you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's to be a long marriage right there for sure. Um, so there's so many continuities, errors in the show, and we could literally just talk about that for the entire podcast. But
That'll be a future show for sure.
yeah, because there's so
Yeah.
much, and I want to do deep dive into a lot of stuff. Um, the one thing I think would be great to talk about is there's a lot of sub characters, and we're not talking about like the characters who play different parts because there have been a lot of episodes with Rico playing a doctor and playing all these different things.
That's
Um,
Carrie's husband in real life. Fun fact.
Ex-husband now, even
Oh
funner
yeah.
fact, yes. Um, there's also Nick Bakay, whose voice is Sabrina's cat for people who don't know who he
Oh
is.
yeah. He's in there a bunch. Yeah.
He's in there a ton for a lot of random episodes. I don't know the man's name, but it was like an older guy.
I know it because I thought that I could take him as a sub character, but I guess I can't. Then when he's like, when he owns the bread store or whatever.
Yes,
Hello,
yes,
how is
yes.
you?
Right.
That guy's hilarious. That's a
Yeah.
funny guy.
He also ran the movie theater because remember he got mad at the girl with the eye patch.
It's the 26th of May or something.
Right.
Yeah.
I think he's probably in most of the episodes. Like there's a
He
lot
is,
of
yeah.
episodes with him in
Yeah.
there. So besides those type of characters, and we could talk about that later of which character is the best that they played on there because there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Sub characters like Danny and Holly. To me, they're perfect characters for this group.
Yeah.
because mainly like Doug and Carrie have like the worst marriage, honestly. They have no reason to be together, honestly, with all the
Yeah.
lies that Doug fucking spills on her and she does with him. It's not even a match made in heaven. There's a lot of times where she's very physically abusive to Doug, which is
Yeah.
hilarious too. She pushed him down the stairs.
She's still hot.
There's so many different things that's happened between them. So you have to have these kind of like like a little balance, you know. And Holly
Yeah.
comes in and she's great because she was great on Mad TV and
Yeah.
you know she was
Scrub.
yeah, Scrubs. She's really good and you know, I think my only issue with Danny is I wish that he was a brother, not a cousin, because they literally are real life brothers.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that would have been better than being the cousin
Yeah.
because I felt like he needed a brother more than the sister because Ricky Lake as a sister, she was only on it for a few episodes. It's
And she was
just
garbage.
yeah, and she wasn't really that
Yeah.
great, kind of pointless.
Yeah.
But Danny's a great character, and I wish they would explored like had episodes just Danny like in the pizza shop before
Yeah.
it went under.
Yeah.
You know, instead of being the cousin, he was like a little brother who just wanted to be like Doug because that's what Doug always had an issue with. Like he always wants to be around me. Well, we
Yeah.
all have cousins. How many cousins are really bugging you that much? Do you have cousins that bug you that much that
My cousin Michael really wants to be me, so yeah, hopefully if he's watching this, he'll agree.
right? Or take a hint, one of the two.
Yeah.
But yeah, so between Danny and Holly, and I wish Holly had more of a like a backstory, you know,
Yeah.
outside of, you know, what we know about Holly is she'll sleep with whoever,
Yeah.
especially if she needs to get her car fixed. You know, she's a great dog walker.
The best you can get.
Yeah, and it's and her prices are so cheap. It's like $10 a week or whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, that's if I still had a dog.
Yeah, just go to Holly for sure. So
Yeah.
between the two characters, like who, not just your favorite, but who do you think makes the show like who's that little glue? Like who's more important in the show between the two?
Just between those two?
Just between those two, yeah.
Oh, that's I think no, Holly was good because she was a good playoff to Arthur. That was a good relationship.
Yeah.
He was wild, and she would just like she's so dumb and she believe him, or she like don't think girls have colons or something like whatever.
Right.
And
He makes her
she
ride a
was
bike.
good. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, that was a good one too. You're like a father to me. But Danny, just Greg Valentine is even after the show. I really like him as an like he's fun. He's got good
Yeah.
timing. Like the Neil Diamond thing is a riot.
Oh
The
yeah.
asthma. Um, oh, there's so many Danny things.
When they got attacked by him and Deacon got attacked by those kids with the snowballs and they're like running inside of
Yes.
the house. And the way he like ran in and just like fell down and was like so terrified.
Yeah.
That's
That
such a
Asian
great
kid's got a cannon.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
They were so
Yeah,
scared.
yeah, so he's good. He's really funny, and he actually, again, when it comes to me in the show, and people reminded me, there was a guy, a paramedic at work that reminded me so much of him. I would call him Danny Heffernan all the time. Like whenever I see him, I'm like, Danny Heffernan, what's up? And I don't even think he watched the show, but he kind of got the point. But yeah, Danny's done like, and even with him and Spence was a great. That was a
Yeah.
great relationship. Like them getting married to get a free TV and fighting over the extra bedroom and staying
Yeah.
up with Holly for the gas. So yeah, it's hard to beat. Even the episode where they go to the amusement park
Oh
and
yeah, with the
Spence
ice
falls in
cream
love with the
chick,
ice
yeah.
cream cone, and then Danny's hitting on the guy at the end, and it's one of the guys that's in a bunch of the episodes too. The black haired guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's to me out of those two, they're both really great characters. Holly, I enjoy. Like I like what's her name? Nicole. What's her last name?
Sullivan. Nicole Sullivan.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Hmm.
like her and everything. She's voiced a couple cartoon stuff. She's been in a few
Mm.
shows that I like. I liked her in Mad TV, but I got to go Danny for
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's Danny for me too. And you mentioned the episode where they were trying to like, you know, get the room and they end up just staying in there together and they're just like
Yeah.
looking at the stars on the
Yeah.
wall and they're just talking all night and they're like, you know what, let's just do this, you know?
Yeah.
Or just him and Spence when they were over at Doug and Carrie's house and they shared the bed and they both took their underwear off and they're like, we went a little bit too far with this, man. Took it too far.
And when he's Doug's trying to remember the song he wrote for
Oh yeah.
Margie Coletti,
Yeah.
and he's like, you got to go 80 synthesize. Mog, I'm a fan of you. What you do?
Mog, Mog,
Mog,
Mog.
the Mog. Yeah. He's fantastic.
Yeah, he was so good. He's really like that underrated character. And I
Yeah.
and I'm assuming that he was there to replace Richie for the most part,
Yeah,
which
because they actually pretty much did an episode where that happened. Because
yeah.
yeah, well, actually, it was Spence that got jealous that Danny was there, but yeah, it was.
Which is a segue into what you're going to talk about next is Richie and Carrie's sister Sarah, who was only around like the first like 6 episodes or 7 episodes or whatever it was, and who we tried. By the way, guys, a little behind the scenes, try to get her on the show because we eventually want to have. Yeah, there you go. Whoa, get under my armpit.
Behind
Uh,
the scenes. Yeah.
we eventually want to get like either get some of our guests to be King of Queens actors, even if they're the sub characters, which we like to call them, the writers, whoever. You get a key grip on here. I don't give a shit if you worked on the show. So we tried to get her. She responded back. She was very, very nice. She's singing now. She has a great voice, and it didn't seem like she wanted anything to do about talking about the
Yeah.
show anymore. And
But
maybe
she was
there's
real nice turning us down, which I'm used to anyway.
she
So
was very yes. Yeah, the pretty girl turned you down, so I'm sure you're used to that every day.
yeah,
But
any girl, but yeah.
anybody, one arm, two arms doesn't really matter. But yeah, so she was very sweet, nice, and she didn't want to talk about it. But we're gonna talk about her, and we're gonna talk about, and we're gonna talk
Yeah,
about
screw you, Sarah. Whatever we're gonna talk about.
yeah, we're gonna talk about Richie too. If they were to spin a regular on the show. Like Carrie always had a sister every season, and Richie was always like the best friend because, again, back to continuity, Richie and Doug lived together. They brought Carrie and the other girl over there and to the apartment, and they seemed like that was his best friend. So that changed for whatever reason. I think Richie was only on until the second season, I believe,
Yeah, yeah,
give or take.
yeah.
But if
Third, maybe
yeah,
third.
maybe.
Yeah.
But either way, let's just say they were on until the finish and they were, the same type of character. Who do you think would have been more beneficial if they stayed on the show? And if they did stay on the show, would that have helped the show? Would it have improved it? Or would it kind of fuck a lot of stuff up?
I don't think, to be honest, and this is not because she turned us down. I don't think either of them.
Nothing to do with it at all.
No, I don't think either of them would have been beneficial. Richie got annoying to me, and she,
Hey,
I don't
Moose.
think really. Yeah, it's like, and I think this is why, and I think this is also why they used Ricky Lake and then didn't bring her back, because I think the early seasons they were really trying to be New York. Friends was New York, Seinfeld was New York,
Yeah.
Everybody Loves Raymond. New York was just everyone wanted to be a New York show. It was the thing. It's a great city. I
Well,
love. I've been
remember
there.
the opening, like it wasn't like it was towards the
No,
end. It was just
yeah,
like the subway, like,
yeah, yeah,
like just the subway, and that
yeah.
was it.
The classic like '90s, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the writers, as high as they probably were,
Allegedly.
yeah, yeah, figured out that this New York thing is starting to phase out, so they phased out those characters because Sarah had a pretty thick. Like, I mean, not to say Carrie didn't have a New York accent throughout the show too, but they were really like that typical '90s New York type of character. Even Ricky Lake's character.
Yeah.
Um, so like I think losing Richie was a good thing because it was too New York if they wanted to
Yeah.
kind of spread out.
The
Um,
stereotype. It was such a stereotype.
yeah, and then with Sarah in the house, that's too many characters in the house,
Yeah.
right?
Where did
And,
she sleep? Where did she sleep in the house? Did she?
oh, maybe in the office and on the futon because Arthur was downstairs.
Maybe.
Yeah, but she like Arthur is a lot. Arthur is like three
Yeah.
characters, right?
Right.
So you don't need, and don't even think she was six. I think she was only like maybe 2 episodes, like the
No, it
pilot.
was a
And
few. There's some in
yeah,
between that she wasn't in, and then she was
yeah,
on like it might have been episode 5 or 6 that
yeah,
she ended up being on, which was like the last one.
yeah. She was on one with like at a wedding, like a bridesmaid party, because she was late or whatever, and she had one of the stupidest jokes ever. Because Carrie's like, "We're late because of you," and she's like, "Oh, you had the bigger room growing up." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, she really
Like,
had small parts too. Because if you think about
yeah,
it, there was one episode. because my girlfriend, who's a huge King of Queen fan too, she didn't know about like the early season with her sister. So I was like looking through some
Yeah.
of the episodes and showing her. And one, the only time she was on was she was sitting there talking to Doug, and I think Doug was asking her opinion about something about Carrie being mad or whatever. And they
Oh
were
yeah.
sitting there together at Cooper's
Mhm.
talking. And then she was all freaked out, like, "Do you think I did something?" Like, I
Oh
can't really
yeah.
remember the
Yeah.
conversation, but it
Yeah.
was like that was the only scene she was in.
She thought Doug said something about the way she looks, and she was freaking out about her
Yes,
own
about
look.
her
Yeah.
looks. Yes,
Yeah.
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 So that was it. That was
Yeah.
only part of it. So
Oh, she was at their anniversary episode too because Spence was taking too many pictures of her.
yes, that was the
Yeah.
other one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
again, brief. There was like,
Yeah.
or actually, that probably was the only time that she was on that she was kind of featured a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, was that the
And
same one?
if I could indulge in my toxic masculinity here for a moment,
Sure, indulge
she's
away.
definitely the most attractive that was on the show, I think.
She's still cute. She still
Yeah.
looks the same. She just looks a little older, like, most people in life as they age.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
she really, maybe I wonder, this is just me speculating. I'm wondering if there was an issue between her and Leah Remedy, like behind the scenes.
Maybe. Maybe.
Because
But we
Leah's very
know,
attractive too.
yeah, yeah, and she definitely was back then,
Yes.
in the first few seasons. Um, we also know though that Kevin James has a bit of a history with co-stars and maybe
Yes.
even female co-stars from Kevin Can Wait, so
Yes.
he could have stepped in because when she replied to us, I kind of got that vibe as well.
Yeah.
Like I don't talk about that because yeah,
Yeah. I kind of got that vibe too. And by the way, just side note, there was a show that was on a few years ago on AMC called Kevin Can Fuck Himself, which
yes,
basically is a play off of, Kevin Can Wait.
yeah,
And if you haven't seen it, it's really, really good. It was only like 3 seasons, I believe.
yeah.
And I don't know if you've heard, like, I'm sure you've heard of it, but
Yeah, I've seen clips. The concept's pretty cool.
the concept's great. It's
Yeah,
basically like it looks like a sitcom for a minute, silly, and then she steps out of another room and it's just like dark, Breaking Bad,
yeah,
fucking drama. So it's a pretty interesting, like I said, it's an interesting show. I agree, it's a great concept for it, but it was based off of the shit that happened on Kevin Can Wait because of how he is, back, behind the scenes and things that happen, and that's why Leah Remedy was on the show. He brought her on. I didn't really watch that show, but I don't know if his like wife died and then he replaced her with
yeah. That's what happened.
Leah.
I watched. I actually didn't mind Kevin Can Wait because it was almost like you should watch it because it's almost like
King of
a
Queens.
reunion because uh, there's a few guys on it like Claire. Well, I don't know a few, but there's what's his name? His brother's on there. Greg Valentine's on there. He's
Gary,
actually really funny on.
Gary, Gary,
Yeah,
Gary
Gary.
Valentine.
Is it
Yeah,
Gary?
it's Gary. Yeah, Gary
Oh, that
Valentine.
was Greg. Look it up. It's Greg. You're wrong.
Mm-mm.
We.
Put you probably
um,
weren't wearing your glasses. That's probably why.
That's what it was. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
And then, Leah Remini comes back then, and he also has a couple of one of the main side guys on Kevin Can Wait was the bouncer. Don't touch that guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so he's on there a lot. And
That
yeah,
guy,
so you should watch it.
he used to. That's what's his name? He's been a fighter for years. I think his name is like Bass Rutten or something like that. Like,
Yeah, he's a fighter. Yeah,
yeah, he's a fighter, like
yeah.
legit. I don't know if he's still alive now. I mean, that was a while, years
I think
ago.
he is because
But
he was on that Kevin Can Wait. So
yeah, and that was on
yeah.
what, like 10 years ago?
Probably 10 now. Yeah,
And how many seasons did that have?
2 or 3
I thought it was more than that. Because
in
he had his wife, and they were
the
on there
first season.
for it was only one season, and then they
Yeah,
replaced
yeah,
her with Leah.
yeah.
Interesting.
And then Leah was his boss for Monkey Fist Security.
I really think, because what's funny is I talk to a girl about the show a lot because it's the show that we put on when we go to bed. That's our white noise. Sometimes it's The Office, sometimes it's like Workaholics, Family Guy, but lately it's been King of Queens. So I'll start off an episode that I really love, and that'll make me fall asleep, even though
Yeah.
that seems like it would keep me awake if I love it so much. But
Yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean. But we'll talk about like their relationship, like outside of the show. To me, I feel like even though she was married to Rico, whatever his real name is, at the time, I feel like they had like a relationship because their chemistry was so good. Like, And then they're
I
doing all these other things. I feel like they had to have something going on.
I felt that too, but I also read that they hated each other.
I can't believe that. I
Yeah,
mean,
because I read like an article like top 10 co-stars and they were in one of them I read. And I was like, that's unless it get later in the season, because there's a couple of episodes where Doug's doing his thing and her laugh seems natural. Like she calls
yeah,
him a moron and stuff. I'm like, that's a natural reaction. Like that's not acting.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
they could have had a thing because that was like that with the Martin show. Because Martin Lawrence and Tisha Campbell had issues, and I think she took them to court towards the end. I don't. It could have been like a harassment thing or whatever it was, but I think they had issues towards the end, which have been resolved now. It seems like because they did like a reunion show together. Um, but I don't know. It just seems like they just there's a lot of scenes where like he lays on her and she's rubbing his stomach and she's just like laughing. Like you could tell when she's laughing like a character or laughing like
Yeah.
herself.
Yeah.
There was an episode I watched yesterday. It was one of the strike episodes. So she was like worried about him or whatever, and he's like, "No, I'll do some home repairs. We'll fix this or whatever." And he slaps her ass on the way out. Yeah, he screws in that little thing. He's done in like a second, but he slaps her ass really hard when she walks out the door. And her face, she like laughs like so hard. It
Yeah.
almost could have been a blooper scene, but he just
Yeah.
like kept going with it. So I just feel like the chemistry was too good. Like they could to me it wouldn't surprise me if they were like they get together. I don't even know if he's married. I don't know
He
anything.
is.
He
He's
is?
married to Suji, the nail lady.
Really?
Yes, it blew my
No
mind.
way.
Because I looked it up one time, I was like, and it was a picture of him and her, and so I Googled Kevin James' wife, and it was her. He's married to her,
The
that
one
Asian
the
like
one
reoccurring.
that lied and said she was pregnant so she wouldn't have to
Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
see
that's his
Carrie
wife.
anymore? No way. Are you
Yeah,
100% sure or did you click something
yeah.
on Reddit that was like false?
No, Google it, man.
I'm
Google
gonna
it,
I'm gonna
Holmes.
have to Google it.
I'm it's just as right as his name was Greg Valentine.
Hold on a second. Let me go on my Instagram.
Oh no, Greg Valentine is Greg the Hammer Valentine. It is
That's
Gary
Greg the Hammer.
Valentine.
Yeah, Gary Valentine. Here he is with all of his glory. When no one can
This is
fucking
Greg the
see.
Hammer Valentine.
No one can fucking see. Yeah, Gary
There he
Valentine.
is, sort
That's
of. Yeah,
him.
Gary
Yeah.
Valentine. I will secede on that one.
Yeah. There we go.
I mixed them up with one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
Yeah. Server gets one over Pittman. There we go.
That's
Chalk
it.
it
It's the
up.
only one.
We'll add him up. That's to me. I want to rate that 7 mms. How great that was
Like,
for
hey,
me personally.
the one I dropped today got a 7, so good timing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've been harsh lately.
I miss streaming because I used to love guessing. Like I'd watch all
Yeah.
your videos. I love to guess how many mms you would get. And for people who don't know what the fuck we're talking about, because we're talking about King of Queens and now we're talking about mms. So neither one of us are having a stroke. We're actually that's his rating
Well,
system on his snack scrutiny, which everyone should
yes.
check out, and everyone should also check him out on ViewCount because he does some stuff
Mm-hmm.
with ViewCount. So those are Shawny P Snack Scrutiny on YouTube and ViewCount on YouTube as well. Um, so let's just kind of end on another note here and kind of go back to continuity a little bit. And I think that's a thing that we're always going to end up talking about because it's so prominent with the show. Um, the one thing that I really don't understand is the layout of the house. When they show the house in this in between like little cutaway scenes, like they go to the next scene and you see the front of the house. It looks nothing like the house when they're out, like for example, the Thanksgiving episode with what's his name with the eye patch.
Yeah, yeah,
He's on the show, one of his early
yeah,
performances. He's there, they're all scared
yeah,
of him. And then at
yeah.
the end they go outside all together. Even the strike episode, they're like out front on the patio, the porch, whatever.
And it's through, yeah,
But when they show the fucking house in between scenes, it's like a door and some steps. And then he has his
yeah,
back garage. The back garage, when you look at the episode where he went outside because they had new neighbors and they had like 8 kids and they're flying the airplane at him and he's like running away from the airplane, you could see that alley. You never see anything like that when they're in the garage when they're because they're in there a
yeah,
lot. So
yeah.
I don't again, maybe they were high, but to me like the floor plan, everything is just so off. Like I
There's
don't.
so again, there's so many shows like that. Like Simpsons is my favorite show of all time, and that house is wild. That's never normal. That one, and yeah, same thing. King of Queens. But there's one thing I noticed, and I think they did this one on purpose. And if they did, then it's probably the most brilliant writing they did on the show when it comes to this. But Doug, when it was a snowy day and he went to drop stuff off, and there was a Japanese couple, the guy who
Oh yeah.
beef jerky.
Yes.
He convinces the guy not to have the father stay. So then the wife gets all upset. So
Yeah.
she runs upstairs and goes to her room, and Doug follows and is like, Neoshi, come on. Like, they're married. And when he walks into the bedroom, it's a different color, but it's the exact layout of Doug and Carrie's bedroom. That, I think, was purposely done because they
Yeah.
wanted to make it look. And if that's the case, that's genius writing. But
Yeah.
if not, it was just them being lazy doing the thing, which
Totally.
is well, even with the episode where Bryan Cranston and them build the pool.
Yeah.
And you go and they're like, their slide is at Doug and Carrie's bedroom window.
Yeah. It's
There's
not
no
there.
way that would have worked.
And it's funny you mentioned that because that's another huge continuity error. Is because prior to that episode, he sells them these water filters.
And they run away.
They take off, and you
Yeah.
never see them. But then they're
Yeah.
all of a sudden next door they have a fucking pool there, and they're like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
What about those fucking water filters? Where? What? Why did
I
that
know.
get brought up? So
Yeah.
I just think like there's so many different things that happen in the show, and I'm gonna try
Stanley
my
as well.
hardest. Huh?
Stanley as well. They got the dog Stanley from them, and
Oh,
you
that's
never
right.
seen Stanley again. Yeah.
I think they had a dog before Stanley too, I believe in the early
Yeah.
episodes that was on for like a couple episodes,
Yeah.
and it's just gone. Like he left with
Yeah.
Sarah and fucking
Yeah.
Richie. They
Sarah
took
took
the
him
dog
away.
too.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't
They
want
put him
it.
under the bridge. They left him under the bridge with the red car.
That's right. The fucking red car.
Well, one of my favorite moments, and I know we probably will do a favorite moments episode, but
Yeah.
one of my favorite moments, because I remember I worked at a summer camp, and one of the guys down there was hooked on this show too, and we were at Shawny, we were saying all that stuff, but then when Doug gets out of the car and he's like, "Feel like you want to rumble," and he does this like rumble thing. Oh man,
Dude,
one of the best ever.
and I'm hoping people will just stumble across this podcast and maybe they've never heard of the show and they're just curious. What are these two fucking idiots talking about? And then they watch the show because if people have never watched the show, it's such an easy show to watch. I think the first season is pretty good, but because of the sister being gone and then they take her away and then she's never mentioned again, even on the tombstone when she found out her name was Simone. It doesn't even have the sister's name on there. So
That's true. Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of like it can confuse people and they'll kind of wonder, especially now in 2025, people kind of discover stuff that happened 25 years ago. So yeah, I don't know. I think this is a great show for people who just want to watch something easy because it's definitely not a thinking show. And I kind of want to go back. You mentioned The Simpsons. The biggest continuity error with The Simpsons, and you could correct me if I'm wrong. In the beginning of The Simpsons, since the very beginning, when they do the whole gag where, when they play the whole thing and they pull up and Homer he gets hit by the car and he goes inside and they all run to the couch. There's a second car in the driveway. Whose car is that?
Marge's station wagon, the orange station wagon.
They never drive separate cars. They always drive the same orange one.
No, they have.
They have.
Yeah, there's the pink. Well, actually, Marge is driving her station wagon, I think, in the opening credits, and then there's their regular pink car. But it is back and forth a lot. Yeah. I don't think you should question
Greg Valentine. Are you sure?
That one I'll give you, but The Simpsons, you can't question me on that.
I know you. I know that's your show, and that's why I'm asking you because I don't remember, and I've watched a lot of Simpsons. I mean, I watched The Simpsons when they actually started on the Tracy Ullman show, and they were in the little in between, But like,
if you watch it back, if you watch it back, pay attention. And Marge is driving her orange station wagon, and maybe not in the newer credits, but the original credits, and then it's Homer's pink car in their usual pink car.
Okay, I'm gonna actually do a little research on that because I don't remember them ever
Yeah.
driving separate cars ever.
Yeah.
It's always the same car, the orange car. That's all they ever drive.
I usually whenever no, the pink car is like one like their more famous one.
Well, maybe I'm colorblind. I don't know, but it's the
Yeah.
same car every time I watch. They're
I'm
driving the
I
same
don't
car.
think you know why? Because I'm colorblind. Office reference. Another amazing show. That's my
Uh,
third favorite show.
okay. Office is great too. That's a whole nother podcast. That because
Yeah,
there's so many things with that show, and there's a few continuity things with that. But we'll
it
stick with
is.
King of Queens here. But
Yeah.
I think we covered a lot of stuff today. I think we're good. This is a lot of fun. I think we'll probably do this a couple times a month. It's not
Yeah.
like a weekly deal for people. We don't want to bore people with King of Queens. We want people to be excited to watch all of this stuff. And
And 20 years ago.
yeah, that happened 20 years ago. But you know what? People still talk about a lot of stuff that happened in,
That's true.
the older shows. And there's no
Yeah.
honeymooner show, so maybe we'll start a honeymooners podcast. We'll just
Yeah.
go back as far
Well,
back as we
which
can
is
go.
basically what this show is based off of.
Yeah. And
Every show.
The one thing with King of Queens too is they always pay like a homage to like TV shows. There's a lot of
Yeah.
little
That's
Easter
a fun
eggs.
episode. Yeah.
The
That
honeymooner
one
one,
episode where, yeah, that whole episode's really good.
yeah, I mean, Deacon played a great Ralph. Like
Yeah.
they could have just done this. Like they were perfect honeymooners. Like
Yeah.
how the characters were, they were so good. My girl never watched honeymooners before, so I showed
Yeah.
her like a little.
I've never either. I wouldn't. Yeah.
Oh, it was a great show. Back when
And
dinosaurs
The
walked in.
Brian song scene though, in that
Oh man.
Doug Heffernan lied at the age of
and then just run. He just runs away.
Deacon's great in that too. But yeah, we'll have a whole episode where we talk about sub characters and yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff. So thanks, Shawny. Thank you for doing this. And again,
our
check out
pleasure.
Shawny P's Snack Scrutiny on YouTube, and also check out some view count stuff. And we'll see you next time. Check us out on social media as well. What's your TikTok? Is it Shawny P or Shawny P Snack Scrutiny? Did you change it or no?
It's certainly not Look It's a Podcast, so check out Look It's a
Oh,
Podcast
hello,
everywhere. Yeah, you can
hello.
see that shiny dome and no, it's not on TikTok. I don't post a ton on TikTok anymore, but you can check me out there, Shiny P11. And then yeah, I'm on YouTube. It's Shiny P Snack Scrutiny. If you want to follow a weight loss journey I've been doing, it's Shiny P Shrink Scrutiny. So you click the playlist, snack or shrink, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
I like it. How much have you lost so far?
So this last week or so, I've been kind of plateauing back and forth, but I'm gonna go with the lowest I was, because water weight stuff like that adds on.
Right.
So I'm down to four. I started when I weighed myself, I was 518. Now I'm at 477, so that's 41 pounds.
Okay.
Feeling good. Down a lot of inches, which is what kind of got to count too, because I'm also doing working out with weights and whatnot, so that
Okay.
adds weight as well. But yeah, yeah,
Okay.
feeling good, feeling
That sounds
healthy.
great. And
Yeah, thank you for asking.
on the flip side, I found out that I weigh 260 pounds now.
And you still didn't get a free burger for it. So,
No, I need to gain 40
but
pounds to
listen,
get that free burger.
you you don't look like, and I there's lots of tips if you there's a Simpsons episode on that, but again, but you don't look a pound over 258. So,
I'll take it. I'll take it. But
yeah,
yeah, so thank you for the compliment. I do appreciate it. And thank you for being here. We put out our
you look good.
socials. Everything's all good. You looked great, kind of. Love you and thank you guys for watching. We do appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe, share all the content because we have a lot of stuff on the Look It's a Podcast YouTube channel. We got the sports show if you like sports. We got a wrestling show. Obviously, we got a King of Queens. And I got one by myself where it's just called Yapping, where I'm just doing this right now, just yapping to end the show. So thank you guys. We will talk to you all later and have a beautiful